Welcome to Beyond Ordinary, where we explore powerful strategies and life-changing insights to help entrepreneurs and ambitious individuals achieve extraordinary success. I'm Myles Youngblood, your guide to leveling up your life and business, man. Welcome to my very first solo episode. I've been contemplating if I wanted to do these. It's going to be my first one. Hey, let me know if you like it in the comments below. Leave me a rating, all that good stuff. But today we are going to be talking about my lessons I learned for 2024. Oh man, like 2024 was just such a roller coaster year for me. Like toss turns, like literally on December 31st, 2023, if you had told me what my 2024 would have been consistent of, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I know you lying. You know what I mean? It was really just that crazy for me. You know what I mean? Like literally this podcast, like going into 2023, I literally did not have the idea for this podcast. It wasn't bred until I want to say March. And I'm gonna dive into that a little later in the episode. But without further ado, I'm gonna start going over some of the things I learned throughout the year. Starting off with one bad apple will spoil the bunch. So what do I mean by that? So for those of you that don't know, I have a business where I help content creators, podcasters, people like that with their short form content. I saw that there's a trend with short form content is an easy way to go viral. So I said, you know what? Let me jump in. Let me help people with their short form content. And so what I do is I take that long form, cut it up into shorts, post it on all platforms because you gotta post on all platforms, man. Because you see what's happening with TikTok. Like if you really build on one platform and they just take your platform, like you toast, you're done, you're cooked. You feel me? So we post on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, all that good stuff, and I do that for my clients daily. And I have a handful of clients, some of which have actually come onto the podcast. I have literally a playlist for client testimonials on this channel, so go check it out. And if you want some work, shoot me an email. We could talk. So with that business, and I do it since I do it every single day. I have multiple positions. I have an editor and I have creative directors. The creative directors watch the long form video and say, oh, this are the best parts, woody woo, and kick it to the editors. And then the editors are the people that actually edit the video, right? So for me, because it's an everyday thing, it's kind of hard or not hard. And I did it. Spoiler alert, I did it. Having to take an editor off a client and replace it with somebody else, because I would have to find an editor and make sure they're good, train them up, add them to the ClickUp, make sure they're reliable, all this good stuff, make sure they're a good fit. Like it's just a whole hoopla to try to replace an editor. So I didn't want to have to replace this person. So one of my editors, I actually, it's funny because I had interviewed her and she was like literally neck and neck with one of my editors that's still with me today. And and I told her, hey, when I get an opening, I'm gonna let you know. Got an opening, hit her up. She was available. Boom, and brought her onto the team. But she started bickering a lot with one of with the creative director that she was working with. And at first, I kind of was like ignoring it a little bit. I was like, nah, it's not that deep. Like, I don't gotta intervene. It's cool, whatever. It'll work itself out. But then one day, it really just blew up. And I was like, oh no, I gotta say something. So I sat them down and said, yo, what's going on? We can't be talking to each other like this. Like we're a family. Like we can't have a hostile work environment. Boo whoop. Everybody said it was cool. Cool. And then I don't remember what happened after that talk but it basically like didn't change. And I saw that it was mainly the editor who was starting it. I think, yeah, the creative director, she like sent me like some private like messages that was sent between them and how she was talking. And I kind of saw that with the way she was talking also. And the ClickUp was kind of, hostile. So I had to really stop and think like, okay, just like Hermosi talks about about a bouquet of flowers. Like if you have like one dead flower, like it's not really a bouquet. You know what I mean? Like if you give someone a bouquet of flowers and one of the flowers is dead, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? And so I have really two options. The first option is be like, okay, try to really ignore this shit and then just hope that it figures itself out, which it clearly wasn't because we already, had a conversation and things weren't necessarily getting better. And then it would be a downward spiral where she the creative director, she probably might get snappy with other people, and like it would ruin the whole company culture. And then now I have a massive problem on my hand. Or I could just do the work that I really didn't want to have to do, which is find a new editor, replace them, all this other stuff. And for the sake of the business, I really was like, nah, like I gotta replace her. I can't can't allow her to affect the company culture. So I kept her on board for maybe another week or two while I was looking for somebody else. Eventually found somebody else, integrated them really quick, and then let her know that, hey, like, because of your behavior and the way that you've been, I've been seeing you interact with people, like I'm gonna have to let you go. And I did that for the sake of the business. I did the hard work. And so, like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this and you have somebody and you have a hire that's not really, that's kind of bring it, it's more so about the culture. I mean, it's one thing to, because she was still doing the work. Like that wasn't the problem. Like she was still editing the videos. They were still good edits. We were getting good results. However, all the extra stuff that comes with that, like some of the drama that came with that, she came with a lot of drama and baggage, and that brought the company culture down, and I couldn't sacrifice that. So that is something that I try to always strive for my company, is to make sure that we have a good company culture, which is why a lot of the editors and a lot of the creative directors I've been working with, I've been in business for, I believe, like a year and a half now. And some of them have been with me literally since the ground up, since before I even got my first client. So, and I'm not trying to, and I really value keeping those core people and making sure that they're happy, and that we don't bring anybody on that kind of ruins that flow. So that's lesson number one. Don't let one bad apple will spoil the bunch. And I had to prevent that from happening. All right. Next is premium prices equal premium clients, man. So what do I mean by that? So I'm gonna have to tell a story. Like, again, I'm gonna probably reference Hormozy a lot in this episode because I watch a lot of Hormozy content, and a lot of what I've learned from business has been from Hormozy. And he always talks about how, clients that always want to discount or want to pay the least and all this other stuff end up being the clients that complain and bitch the most. And I literally dealt with that firsthand, really towards the back half of this year. So essentially, I wanted to really help podcasters, especially because, if I have a podcast client, I can network with them, like, it would be basically a win-win if I do their short form. So I was trying really hard to get a podcast client, and I finally landed one and approached them, made them a sample, and they have two podcasts. So they're Christian podcasts, and I'm not going to use real names. By the way, I'm just going to be using fake names, so don't try and like look up people and stuff like that. So they were a Christian podcast. I had two podcasts, one about like marriage, one about just Christianity, just in general, and then a third one was going to be, I forget what the third one was going to be. They actually never started the third one, which, looking like in hindsight, not a surprise by the way their organization runs, but. Basically, they wanted me to do 90 clips. I told them what I typically do is I get people like on a Zoom call, it's like a consultation call, figure out what they want to do, price. We go back and forth, and then close them there. But for whatever reason, the producer, where his name is going to be Jeremy. So Jeremy didn't want to do that. He just wanted to have a regular phone call and talk price, whatever. I'm like, I guess. So I was like, you know what, whatever. If he wants to talk on the phone, like, that's cool. Like, I'll just rap to him, told him my price, and he was like, oh, that's a little high, blah, blah, blah. And he was trying to charge a really low ball price, talking about, oh, this person, we charge our current dude this much. And he basically paid me a little more than what the other dude was getting paid. Mind you, we had like B-roll, we had like, our clips looked completely better than this other dude. The other dude was basically just using captions, something that they could truly and honestly use AI. They're really wasting money on their editor, being frank. If that's all he's providing is just captions. But we don't provide that. We provide a lot more. But, he had expressed to me that, oh, well, well, every time we have a third party vendor, like, things go south. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever, cool. You know what? Let me show you that I'm not like these other vendors. I pride myself on the fact that, like, I'm professional, I'm easy to work with, and we get the job done and we deliver results. So I'll, like, if we'll just do this trial period, and then after that we'll renegotiate, right? So cool. So this is around like November timeframe ish, and they wanted me to do some like W-2, like official work, blah 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 blah, whatever. Did that, finally got cleared. Cool, hit the ground running. So towards the end of November was when the contract was going to be up. And I hit him up on, I think it was the week of Thanksgiving. I hit him up on Monday on Slack, no response. Tuesday on Slack, no response. And then on here comes, I think Friday. I think I waited till either Friday or Saturday to like like text him personally because I had his personal phone number. And then we finally got on the phone. We started rapping, going back and forth. And I told him like, and then like he was actually the person that like brought up the, oh yeah, your new price, da da da. And he was he swore up and down. He was like, yo, nobody's gonna pay that price. Nobody's gonna pay that price. Like, we're giving you bulk work. We're your biggest client. Just, bro, the dude was just talking out his ass. Now, at first, like he did eventually budge a little bit and paid me a little more. It was less than what I wanted to be paid, but a little more than what he was going to pay me. And I was like, I was talking to my homeboy about it, who got a business and whatnot, and he basically told me, yo, a difficult client gonna be more of a difficult client, more like gonna continue to be difficult. Like this dude, like, I'm not gonna lie, he was really a certified hater, to be honest. Cause I remember we got a viral clip. I remember I sent it, he had mentioned, like, he would mention something. He would always make these slick comments, right? About like, oh, like, none of the clips really popped off, but one literally went viral, like 3 million views on Instagram, 1.5 on TikTok. And then I sent it to him after we was on the phone when he said that, and he didn't respond to the message. He didn't say nothing. Like, bro didn't give me my props. And even on the call when we were negotiating, I had brought this up to him, and he tried to like play it off like he wasn't trying to be a hater. He didn't mean to slight me, blah blah blah, all this bullshit, right? But literally, like, I told myself, look, because during this process, I was mainly working with their marketing director, not really working with him, who's a producer. So I was like, I bet if I could get him on auto pay, where I basically just collect a check, don't really talk to him, do what I got to do, and basically just collect a check like passively, because I'm not the person who's editing these videos. You know, I have a team that does that, and I'm just kind of overseeing. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool. Like, it's cool. Like, I'll do that. So I hit him up and I basically told him, yo, that price works for me. We just got to be on auto pay. And take a guess, out of this difficult client, and he objected to almost everything I said, do you think that he took me up on auto pay? Hell no, he did not. And basically, when I told him auto pay was non-negotiable, dog, this dude just starts attacking me. He started attacking me in the like just talking crazy. And literally all I said was like, oh, well, that's not negotiable. So like, if that's a deal breaker, like, we'll give you your 90 clips that you paid for, then cut ties. That's it. And you know, it like literally got to the point where like one of his final messages, he was talking about, oh, I went to your content and blah blah blah, and these other clients aren't getting no traction, which is literally a lie. They actually got more traction than his page, right? And I learned a lot from this, and I tell this story, right, not to really, you know, shit on Jeremy or anything, but mainly to highlight several things that happened throughout the process that I learned. First things first is that I conceded on a lot of things from my process in terms of like getting on Zoom and stuff like that. So nowadays it's like, I really hold firm on a lot of stuff. Like, not even just with him, but like even just in other like areas of my life, like for like even like women, like I want to, like, I am demanding a certain level of treatment. I have certain processes and procedures put in place, and if you're not trying to like abide by that, that's cool. I'm just gonna walk away. Because one thing that he mentioned is that they were not monetized. They were not a monetized podcast, even though they had 100,000 subs. And if I had known that, I might have maybe maneuvered a little differently. I would have approached the situation a little differently. You know what I mean? So there's that. The next thing too is that he was quite literally, from a per clip basis, my least paying client. I've never had a client really attack me the way he did. I didn't really he literally objected to everything. He was like unresponsive when I needed him to be responsive. I've really never dealt with a client like that. A lot of my clients, they, you know, as soon as I get access to their social medias, you know, I do my thing, we smash it out the park, and they just text me good things, which is why like over half of the clients I work with, I've actually been working with for over a year. You know what I mean? Some of them even refer me to other clients for more work. You know what I mean? And those referrals have even been a year plus relationship. You know what I mean? So to me, it was really eye opening to really see that a client that really paid me the absolute least gave me the most problems. So now, like, I'm not budging price like that. Like, I'll work with you within a certain range, but in terms of giving them, because what they were looking for was for like basically damn near 40-50% discount on what I normally charge, and I ain't doing that no more. I am not doing that no more. So that was a big lesson. Like, premium prices give you premium clients. So if you think that you charge too much for your business, don't sell yourself short. Like, charge what you want to charge. There's other clients that will pay. Oh, I almost closed out the story, but the conclusion to that is this was at the end of November. Come beginning of like December-ish, I had a poker vlogger reach out to me, basically like, "Hey Myles, like, yo, I know you do shorts, like you still do them. Okay, bet, da da da, like I'm ready to sign up." And guess what? He paid the premium price, no questions asked. Like we did it. You know what I'm saying? Like you feel me? So it's just it was really like, I guess, validating to see that, like, I already knew that he was tripping out of his mind and he was just saying that because he didn't want to pay me. But to sign a client literally like a week or two after that happened to my premium price, after a client basically told me that no one's going to pay that price, that was really validating for sure. All right, next is losses are necessary. Losses are necessary. Shout out Wall Street Trapper, because this is something that I took away from a podcast that he did. And when I reflected on, this was kind of towards the end of the year, and when I really reflected on the year that I had, or it's really several years that I had, I realized like how true this statement is, and what that meant in terms of like my life and my business. And I'm gonna start like mainly from a business perspective. So I've been really trying to hustle. Like I graduated college in 2020. I've been trying to hustle, not trying to lead the corporate plantation. I ain't trying to climb no corporate ladder, no shit like that, right? Which is why I have a business. I have this podcast, really trying to get shit cracking for real. And I started really trying to get in the market with Bitcoin and day trade and stuff like that. And I lost, I lost big. I lost big. I was basically just gambling for real. And the amount of money that I lost was literally five figures. I think in total was probably like $20,000 from like 2020 to like mid 2021 / end of 2021 during that crypto bull cycle, right? And since then, it really humbled me, sat me down, and made me realize like, yo, you need to learn this stuff. So I learned Market Cypher B. I learned about the 4-year cycle. I started watching, like I actually became a student of the market. And so when 2022 came around, I came up with this strategy that I'm gonna tell people what the strategy is when like everything comes to fruition. But I developed a strategy to take advantage of this bull cycle, and I deployed a lot of capital at Bitcoin when it was at between like 15,000 and like 18,000. And I've rolled it all the way up. And I believe at the time of this recording, Bitcoin is at like 100K, right? So I'm up massively since then. And it made me realize that I needed to go through that $20,000 loss. I needed to know what losing $20,000 felt like, so I could beat up multiple 5 figures, multiple 6 figures. Like it's just levels to shit. And there's gonna come a point in time where I'm gonna lose 6 figures, multiple 6 figures. And I'm gonna have to know what losing multiple 6 figures feels like, so that way to eventually get to that next level for 7 figures, and so on and so forth. So it just comes with part of the process. So I was kind of on the business side of things. And then on like on a more personal level, like on an interpersonal level, so I was dating this girl, and we did it for like about 2 years, right? Her name, we're gonna call her Bianca. So me and Bianca, we dated for 2 years between like 2022 and like towards the end of 2023. 2023, end of 2023, beginning of 2024, right? And we cut ties. Like we still cool to this day. Like I've literally seen her multiple times since then, and we chopped it up, woo, 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 you know what I'm saying, caught up and stuff like that. It's no bad blood, but it made me realize that I had to go through those kind of growing pains with her, and like kind of like, and I'm not gonna lie, like I really care for her. It really took a long time for me to adjust like life without her. You know what I mean? And I learned so much about like myself, relationships, like that. I just didn't know at the time. I was really just going in blind for real, while I was dating her. And I realized that I needed to go through that experience of knowing what it's like to, date someone like her, get close to her, get close to someone like that, and then to like all the mistakes I made along the ways, and then learn from them, so that way when the right one comes along, I don't make those same mistakes. You know what I mean? So I'm better equipped. So even though at the time, like it was really heavy on me at a certain point. Like, not gonna lie, I'm not gonna cap. I had to talk to my homeboys a lot about it for a long time. But in the end, when I look back at this time, like a year, 2 years from now, even when I look back at it now, it was necessary. You know what I'm saying? Those growing pains, those emotional pains, those were necessary for me to get to that next level, to like finally find somebody that I'm actually compatible with, to you know what I'm saying, have a fruitful relationship. The next lesson is going to be environment is key. And what I mean by environment is key is this actually really ties back to like when me and her were dating. There was a certain period of time where it was just it's always something. It was always something that me and her were going back and forth about. And it really took me until we had split to like realize how much it was weighing on me, you know, mentally, emotionally, all that stuff. Because I like once I started my podcast, because like I started the podcast after like me and her like kind of split, and I like once I started the podcast, I was like doing this. I was going to New York to film, like I just had so much mental clarity, and I realized like, oh wow, like there was no way that I would be able to, you know, scale my podcast the way I've been doing it, to get more clients for my business. I have like basically twice as many clients now than I did like at the beginning of 2024, like when, you know, me and her were arguing and stuff like that. I just like, it wasn't necessarily her, and I'm not going to put, I'm in no way, shape or form putting the blame on her. It was really just I don't want to, like, hostile is not even really the correct term, because it wasn't really like that. It was really just like I don't even know. Hostile is not the right word, but like the environment I was in was just not conducive for me to grow a business, to grow a podcast, because of just what everything that was going on. You know what I mean? So like if you have, you know, like if you're in an environment where, you know, maybe you don't have supportive friends about, you know, your endeavors. I remember my brother literally came to me and was telling me that this girl that like he was cool with is so anti-capitalist. And when he told her that like, yo, I'm trying to like scale, like I'm trying to be an online yoga instructor, influencer, scale my business, all this other stuff. And when he told her that, he told me that she said, I hope capitalism like crumbles before you're able to achieve your goals, something along those lines. And the first thing I told him was cut her off. Hell no. We don't need nobody praying on our downfall in our circle. So stuff like that, like having people around you like that. Now, shorty that I was dating was literally not like on that type time, but I'm just saying like your environment and the people that you keep and the company that you keep will literally determine your forward trajectory. So remember, your environment is key. Next is follow your passion. Follow your passion. So how this idea for the podcast came about is, like I explained at the beginning, I had a done for you service for content creators, right? And I wanted to get away from the done for you stuff. I wanted to pivot into done with you. And so I came across this dude that like had his own, that was doing something similar with content creators with his own agency, blah, 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 pivoted, paid for his course, or buy my course, as me and Zaire call it, buy my course, right? Bought his course, and I was gonna do something with buy his course, got a coach, all this other stuff. It's not really a course, it was really like a consulting program, right? But me and him just say, buy my course, because that's all these gurus do. They make some money. They're like, oh, I'm successful and I can show you how to make money. And most of them make their money showing other people how to make money. I got my own coach. I was going to help me scale some done with you service, blah, blah, blah. I was going to do some bullshit with accountants. Don't ask me why I chose accountants. That's just what I landed on. But part of the program I had to do, which in hindsight, was just so fucking stupid, that I was going to make Instagram reels every single day. Then I was going to make content weekly on YouTube, and it was going to create a funnel to get like show that I'm an authority figure, and get clients for accountants. And just a brief side note of why this is fucking stupid is because in order to really like get content popping and find your audience. Oh, and I was running ads to my page, so that way accountants would find my page and be like, oh shit, this dude knows what he's talking about. Like, let me buy his shit, which I didn't know what I was talking about. I was literally just making content. And that was the reason why I kind of like had to take a back seat and really think about what I was doing, because it was really a point in time where I would be in bed and I would literally not want to get out of bed, because I knew on my to-do list was to make content for accountants that I did not want to fucking make. Like, I just didn't even want to get out of bed and start my day. It was really that bad. So one day I was, listening to Hermosi, and Hermosi was talking about like, yo, like if the best thing happens like with what you're trying to do, then what? So I start to think, I'm like, yo, like accountants, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna be talking to accountants, making hella money and blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know if I'd really be fulfilled. I don't really know if I want to do that. Right. And I told my coach I was kind of struggling with making content. And what he told me to do is to do like a podcast as like a side thing. Like, yo, do this podcast with your clients and use those as social proof. Like, oh, this person is a stock YouTuber with 100,000 subs. And even though he's not an accountant, like blah, 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 he's on my podcast. Which also in hindsight was stupid because it's like, I don't think any accountant was going to come to my page, see that I have a dude who talks about stocks with 700,000 subs and is going to think, oh shit, he can actually help me with accounting. Like, right? That was stupid. But I had already like filmed my first episode of the podcast and with Josh, shout out Stocks with Josh, man. Appreciate you for jumping on the pod twice now, actually. So, and I was like, you know what, this podcast shit that I did, that was actually kind of fun, you know what I mean? And so I was like, you know what, like, what if I just make the podcast the main thing, like try and scale a podcast and have that be the main thing as opposed to, oh, I just do this podcast on the side that I don't really care about and I only use it so that way I can clip up clips to post on my page for accountants and run ads to, you know what I mean? So once I did that, I was like, yo, I'm gonna go all in on this podcast, the podcast stuff. Like I really enjoy doing it. Like it's something that I could see myself doing long term. So I left that program. I spent, several $1,000s. It was a pretty good chunk of change that literally went down the drain. And, I've been all in on the podcast. And the takeaway from that was something that Sam Ovens had said, is he said that he used to think that all you need to be successful in business is discipline. And recently he changed his mind. He said, you also need passion. Passion is really what's going to carry you. You can't just brute force your way through something if you really don't care about it. You know what I mean? And I don't think that I was going to brute force my way with the accountant shit, even if I did get a client or two through the door. I wasn't going to have that oomph that I needed to in order to be successful. Like with this podcast, like I don't dread having to jump on and talk to people. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like let me jump on. I get to learn from people. I get to make my own content. I get to build my own brand. Like it's fun to me as opposed to what I was doing before. And you know what I'm saying? And I can't wait to look back on this episode 2, 3, 4 years from now and be like, oh yeah, like this was the right decision. So follow your passion, people. Follow your passion. And the last lesson that I learned in 2024 is invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, man. Invest in in skills, just all that stuff. So I had, for the longest time, I've been kind of, how do I say it? Like recently I bought a program to help me with my podcast, right? With like podcast consulting and stuff like that. And in previous courses or, like the other dude, I would pay for the course or whatever consulting. And I'll be really like fixated on like, yo, I need this to work out. I don't want all this money to go down the drain. And at the end of the day, everything that, and I've paid for consulting before that didn't work out, that didn't drive me a result. And at the end of the day, I realized like, yo, like, it's just like, it's growing pains. Like every teacher that isn't, you're not going to vibe with, you're not going to mesh with. I was interviewing, Ashley from Trading with Ashley, and she talked about how she paid $100,000 to like paid I think she said three separate mentors, $100,000. I don't know if each, but I think it was cumulatively to learn how to trade options. And it took the fourth person for her to really like teach her, show her the ropes and really get the hang of it. And now she makes 7 figures. She made all that money back. So what I got from that is when instead of going into these consulting programs, just hoping to get a result right away, being worried about, are you going to waste your money? Like literally, like, nah, like go into it, with faith that it's going to work out, give it your all. And if it doesn't work out, cool, move on to the next. It doesn't mean don't ever invest in another program. So for me, I'm paying for consulting. And the reason why I'm a big advocate of that in investing in yourself and paying for coaching is because I want to cut the learning curve down. I'm independent. I don't have a what's it called, a network. I'm not like signed to a podcast network or anything. So for me, it's like, okay, cool. If I'm gonna be independent, then like at least let me pay somebody else to show me the ropes about podcasting, because I'll be damned to do this podcast shit for like a year, 2 years, and then finally be like, all right, cool. Let me just pay for somebody to consult me. I pay for the coaching, and then they tell me, oh, you should have did X, Y, and Z. Like, and if I had known that from the jump, I could have been 2, 3, 4 times further in my podcast career if I had just spent that $1,000. If I had spent that 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, however much it costs to get me there. So I'm gonna always pay for speed and pay for a result, because I could always get more money back, but I can't ever get time back. Remember that. Time is your greatest asset. So that's all, man. That's all for this solo episode. Again, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Please leave me a like, sub, send it out to people. I also am starting a newsletter, a monthly newsletter, where I pretty much do things like this, where I recap episodes, that I learned. It's going to be things about money, mindset, markets. I'm really into crypto markets. It's only going to be a monthly thing, so I'm not going to spam you all the time. Like, you don't got to worry about beyond ordinary spamming you. It's going to be a monthly thing. Hopefully, I'm hoping to get my first edition out at the end of January. If not, definitely going to throw something together for February. And leave me a rating also if you're listening to this on audio. And until next time, y'all, appreciate y'all for listening. Peace.